Alrighty, last session for the day. I am going to riff on a couple of things, and a few people have, or a couple of the previous sessions have actually touched on this. Maybe I shouldn't have talked to Francis before about what I was going to talk about, because he mentioned many of those things. So I want to touch on the chaos of Bitcoin, and I was talking to Preston a little bit before. A lot of us have seen and worked with very hierarchical organizations, centralized organizations, and they have lots of structure and order, and that breeds efficiency and control. And then you come and look at Bitcoin and the chaos of Bitcoin. The chaos of Bitcoin is a complete dumpster fire, or it appears that way. But I actually think it's one of its most beautiful things. So there are many, many aspects to Bitcoin. Michael Saylor did an interesting pod with Stefan a couple of weeks ago, where he talked about the three interlocking network layers in Bitcoin, and there are probably a few more. So there are the social aspects, meetups, nation states. There are educators and people who talk about Bitcoin, and many of them you've seen here today. There are people building, there are people mining, there are plebs like us who are stacking, there are nodes, there's energy consumption, and none of this is being done in what you would call a structured manner. We all do what we think is the best thing to do for Bitcoin. And that really is the crux of it, is we all try and fill the gaps that we see in our own special way. In essence, Bitcoin is everything, everywhere, all at once. So the thing that made me think about this was this chart from Murad Mammadov. For those of you that have been in Bitcoin a while, it's probably a familiar graphic. It shows the evolution of money. So how does something become money? It starts off as a collectible, it becomes a store of value, it eventually becomes a medium of exchange, it becomes a unit of account, and then ultimately it becomes full global money. So that's what we hope for Bitcoin. And in this, you'll see that there is a direct progression of monetary stages. This happens, then this happens, then this happens, and finally we get to full global money. What do Bitcoiners think about that? Yeah, I don't give a stuff about that. I'm going to do what I want. So we've got some of us who are stacking sats and keeping those safe, accruing improved purchasing power. We've got some people who are living on Bitcoin and spending Bitcoin on a daily basis. And for those of you that have tried and used the Lightning Network, you'll know what I'm talking about. And there are even a very small number of individuals and companies who run their business or their life on a Bitcoin standard. And they're looking at Bitcoin as a unit of account. Another example about the apparent conflict in Bitcoin, the chaos, would be the number go up crowd and the privacy crowd. And the session we've just had about whether to dox or not dox, whether to buy your Bitcoin KYC or KYC free, and stacking, and particularly over the last 5 or 6 years about using DCA mechanisms, and they tend to be with KYC-based exchanges. So there's been some pretty brutal arguments online about whether one is better than the other, how important one is. And on one side, you would say DCA is an easy way to stack sats, but if you've got to give up some of your privacy and KYC for it, on the other side of the coin, the privacy advocates would say that's an unworthy sacrifice. And so that appears to be quite a conflicting thing. So again, that's one of those things in Bitcoin where there appears to be chaos and conflict. But in fact, those two things actually go together, because we can't end up with full global money unless we can have private transactions. But we can't have full global money unless the number does go up. So the two things are quite interlocked. Scaling Bitcoin in various ways is also another topic where there appears to be a lot of chaos, and we can see lots of discussions online about potential soft forks, potentially, especially around producing vaults and templates, changes to mempool propagation and network security on layer 1. On layer 2, lots of change in Lightning, use of Liquid, and then the development of Fedi mints and Xiaomi eCash. So these are not mutually exclusive things, but nor are they progressing in a steady, planned cadence. They're all happening at once, and there's conflict between them. A lot of the things in Lightning would be made significantly easier by changes in layer 1, but layer 1 has different priorities, and same with Xiaomi and eCash. And then, of course, we've got Nostr and Twitter and the whole social layer that lays over all of Bitcoin as well. So these are all examples of things that appear to be chaotic, but in fact are just Bitcoiners doing what they believe is the most important thing for Bitcoin at the time. And I guess my central point here is I would argue that the chaos is necessary for the anti-fragility in Bitcoin. So 3 phases or 3 categories, you can say products or services can be fragile. Probably traditional banking is a good example of that. Coinbase would be a good example of a fragile business. Anytime there's any little pump, Coinbase will fail. Resilient. So things that are resilient are able to absorb some bumps in the road and continue on. Anti-fragile is next level. Anti-fragile is for things that hit those bumps in the road and not only survive them, but become stronger for them. And Bitcoin is most definitely anti-fragile. So the thing about anti-fragility is it can't grow and evolve and that thing becomes stronger unless it has those bumps in the road. And those bumps in the road are the chaos of Bitcoin. So ultimately, when you look around and you see what appears to be the chaos in Bitcoin, it's really this: embrace the chaos. It's a feature, not a bug. Thank you.